Greetings everyone, I'm Abraham, Kristoffer, and Buquid. So this is the main method. The main method implements a menu-driven system for managing a library. It uses a do-while loop to repeatedly display a menu with options such as adding, viewing, updating, deleting, borrowing, or returning books. The user's choice is captured using input scanner that next in, and the corresponding operation is executed via switch statement. The loop continues until the user selects option 7 to exit. Invalid selections are handled by prompting the user to try again. The input scanner is closed after the program exits.
Hello, I'm Kenneth Di Belia, and today I'll be explaining our method for adding books. For the scanner next line, this clear any leftover new line characters from previous inputs. So first we're gonna be prompting the user to enter a book ID, and it will be inside the loop that if the user enters an existing ID already, then uh, the program will display that this book ID already exists, and it will prompt the user to enter another book ID that is unique. And then we're gonna ask the user to enter a title. Then we're gonna scan it, and we're gonna ask the user to enter the author. Then we will prompt the user to enter the title, enter the author, and enter the genre. And we're also gonna prompt the user to enter the quantity, but the quantity is inside the while loop. In order to catch the string inputs and the less than 0 and greater than 100 inputs, we need to put it in a loop and catch the number format exception E for the string. So for our store book details, it's gonna be stored in the books array at the current book count index. So for our book count 0, the ID of the book. For our book count 1, the book title. For book count 2, book author stored. Book count 3, book genre. And for our book count 4, we're gonna store the string that is converted into int for operations. So before, our book quantity was string and it was converted into int because for operations that are going to be done in our program. So after that, we're gonna display that the book was added successfully. And after we add the book, we're gonna check if the library is full after adding that book. So we have if condition, the book count is greater than or equal to maximum books. The value of maximum books is 100. So if the book count is 100 and the maximum books is 100, they're equal. So it will display the library is full and cannot add more books.
Tanghali greetings everyone. I'm Karl Calagos and I'm the one who will explain the view books method. Here in our method, we use a void as our return type, which means that we don't have to return any value. We also don't have any parameter. In our method, the first thing that this method will do is to check if there's a book in a library. We use an if statement to locate if there are books. So if the book count is equals to 0, then it will print out that the library did not have any books available. But if there are books available in the library, it will print the library books as a title, as well as the ID, title, author, genre, and quantity in a tabular form. We also uses a for loop to print a row for each book and also to access details stored in a book array. We also print a separator line for better readability. The last one is it will print out the book array along with the row and the stored value in the index 0 which is the value of ID, index 1 for the title, index 2 for the author, index 3 for the genre, and index 4 for the value of quantity. And all of this will print in a tabular form.
Dangal greetings, I'm Angelo Baniago and I'm here to present the method that we use for updating the book's title, author, genre, and quantity. First, the program will ask to enter a book ID. And if the user enters a book ID that doesn't match any book's ID from the library, then the program will print book is not found. Second, the program will ask the user if the user wants to change the title, author, genre, and quantity. And if the user doesn't want to change it, then just press the enter. Also, for the quantity, it has a validation. If the user enters a number that is greater than 100 or less than 1 or is not an integer, then the program will print invalid quantity and will keep the previous quantity of the book.
Method starts by checking if total books is equals to 0. If true, it displays no books available to delete and exits. Otherwise, it calls view books to display all books. It then prompts the user to enter the book ID of the book they want to delete and searches for it using search book. If the book is not found, which is book index is equals to -1, it shows book not found and exits. If the book exists, it asks for confirmation with confirm deletion, yes or no. If the user types yes, the method removes the book by shifting the remaining entries in the library books array upwards and decreases total books by 1. If the user cancels, it displays book deletion cancel.
So, dangal greetings everyone. I am Christian J. Bajamonde and I'll be the one that will be explaining the borrow book method. So, this function is for borrowing the book on the library system. First, it will prompt the user to enter the book ID. First, and here we have an if statement to validate or check if the book ID exists, and it will return if false. So, if the book ID has been found, it will prompt user to enter the book title of the prompted book ID. And with that, here we have another validation to check if prompted title matches the book ID. So, if the book ID and title has been verified, it will display the information of the book title and will prompt the user to enter his or her borrower's name. And we have another validation here to check if the book is already borrowed by looping and checking through borrowed book records. So, if the borrowing validations is successful, the borrowed book records will store the borrower's information in the book he or she borrowed, and the count of borrowers will increase.
Dangal greetings, I'm Chyna Agase and I'll be explaining the return book method part. First, it prompts the user to enter the ID of the book that they want to return. Then using the ID, it searches the record with the search book function. If the book is not found, it says error and stops the process. Next, the program also asks for borrower's name. It checks if the name matches the record in the list. If there's no match, user gets an error message. But if both validation are successful, the stocks are updated, increasing it by 1. Then using for loop, it removes the records of the borrower. Lastly, it clears the record to update. Then the book is successfully returned.
The search book method is used to find a book in a library by its unique ID called book ID. It goes through all the books one by one. If it finds a book that matches the book ID, It returns the position or the index of that book in the array. If it doesn't find the book, it returns -1 to indicate that the book is not in the library. This method helps to quickly search and locate a book.
Greetings everyone, my name is Jairus Bernal. I will explaining the method creating book samples. The method create book samples is implemented to add few books with their borrowed book records into the library system so as to enable perform testing as well as demonstration. The method fill the books is used to populate the books array with several book attributes which include book ID, title, author, genre, quantity of books available, and so on. Likewise, the method places sample information into the borrowed books array and its elements such as book ID, name of borrower, and book title. In this way, this method makes it easier for aiming the audience to experiment the operations of the system such as the viewing of the available books, borrowing them of their return, without having to input the data once the program begins. The method also updates and displays to the user book count and borrower count variables.
Greetings everyone, this is Nathaniel Ejana and I will explain the method public static string convert quantity to int. This method accepts a string representing the quantity input and returns a valid quantity as a string after validation. Firstly, int stack quantity equals 0. It initializes stack quantity to store the valid integer value of the input. The Boolean valid input equals false tracks whether the input is valid, so the loop continues until this is true. In here, while not valid input, it repeatedly prompts and validates the input until a valid number of quantity is provided. We use try block to convert the user input from string to an integer, as invalid inputs like letters or symbols could cause errors. This ensures the program handles errors and prompts the user to re-enter valid data. Stack quantity equals integer parse int. This converts the input string to an integer. If the input is not valid number, it throws a number format exception. Next is if stack quantity is less than or equal to 0 or stack quantity is greater than 100, this will check whether the number is outside the valid range, 1 to 100. If invalid, we will prompt the user quantity must be between 1 and 100. Please try again. Valid input equals true. Here, it will set the flag to true when the input is valid, leading to exiting the loop. This number format exception if the input cannot be converted to an integer. So we will prompt the user to enter a valid number. Here in string.value of stack quantity, this will convert the valid integer back to a string and returns it.